What's up, guys? It's your boy Joe, back again. We're going to be thinking about Luke 18, but first, just a thought. Think about your reputation amongst your school friends or your school peers. The reputation is earned, right? It might be based on the clothes you like to wear, or how paying your Instagram is, or just how much fun you're having on your story or something. Perhaps for you, you want to be accepted for your exam results. That's what you're striving for. If you earn those grades, then you'll be admired by your friends and accepted into your dream uni. Maybe for you it's just all about sport. If you do well in a competition, you get the affirmation that you want and you feel good enough. So much of our lives seem to work this way. We're accepted based on what we achieve or what we do. Many people in our world think this way about their religion as well, or about God. They believe it's all about earning your acceptance, proving you're good enough. Some people end up being pretty confident that they've reached the right level. They've just made it, or they're way above it. And so they feel pretty good about themselves. You might call this type of person self-righteous. Jesus met some self-righteous people 2,000 years ago. And so to teach them a lesson, he told them this parable. We're going to look at it in Luke chapter 18, verse 9 to 14. To some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, "God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get." But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Now, if you didn't already, it would be brilliant if you had a Bible open at Luke chapter 18, 9 to 14, as we start to look through this passage, trying to understand what it means. Now, throughout this parable, I want you to remember it's directed at the self-righteous people. So we're going to think about what they would have thought of it as Jesus taught them. First up to pray is the Pharisee. The Pharisees were a super religious group. They were viewed as being the best goody-goodies around. Everyone thought they'd be in God's good books with a little gold star next to their name. Let's look at what he prays to God. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, "God, I thank you that I'm not like other people, robbers and evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get." He confidently thanks God that he's not like others, evildoers, people who cheat on their wives, that kind of person, the lowlifes. He's confident that he's got a clean record in terms of those things. But even more, he fasts and gives. Now, fasting and giving were a way that people worshipped God. They were good things. But giving 1/10 of absolutely everything and fasting twice a week goes above and beyond the requirements of the law. You see, the self-righteous people would have thought, "Wow, this guy is so good. He's definitely in God's good books, right? We'll see later what God thinks, but next up to pray is the tax collector. Now, to many God-fearing Jewish people back then, a tax collector was scum, a good-for-nothing traitor to the Jewish people and to God. Not only did they serve the Roman rulers by collecting their taxes, but they often went a step further and were seen as cheating people out of extra taxes to get a profit. Basically theft. Surely he is in God's bad books. Well, the tax collector himself seems to think so. You see, look at the way he prays in verse 13. But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. He stands far off. He's too full of shame for his sin to even look up to heaven. Instead, he beats his chest in agony. You see, his prayers from the heart. God, have mercy on me, a sinner. The self-righteous people who look down on him, the ones that are being taught this lesson by Jesus, they were probably asking in their heads, how can he ask for mercy from God? He's an enemy of God. He doesn't keep the rules. God will never forgive him. He doesn't deserve mercy. The self-righteous people's whole idea of God and themselves was about to get flipped upside down. Look at Jesus' conclusion in verse 14. It's shocking. I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. You see, they all thought the Pharisee was the good one. But Jesus teaches them, they got it wrong. The Pharisee will face death and judgment if he keeps going like he is. So this is Jesus' first lesson. Being confident that you're good enough for God is deadly. It's deadly. Being confident you're good enough for God is so deadly. Now we're going to play a game where I'm going to give you two different scenarios. Now you can either just pick one in your head, or you can do thumbs up for one and thumbs down for the other. And then I'm going to tell you which one you should have picked. Okay? So the first scenario. Right. You have to choose to live the rest of your life in one of these great looking cities. Which will you choose? So one, thumbs up, thumbs down, or just choose one. I'll give you a second. Okay. Right, so one of those cities is Los Santos, the beach city. It's probably the most dangerous city in the world. It has one of the highest rates of murder and violent crime of any place. So you want to go for a nice swim. Where would you dive into for a quick tip out of these two places? Choose one and I'll let you know which one you should have chosen and which one you shouldn't have. So, the nice tropical looking one, that's Hanakapai Beach in Hawaii. 80 people have drowned there in recent years. The currents are so strong. It's a deadly place to swim. Okay, the next scenario, you want to give an animal a big old huggo, okay? You're going to hug this animal. You can choose between these different cuties, okay? Take a look. Take your pick. If you chose the hippo, you're probably going to die, okay? It's a deadly option. They're one of the most dangerous animals in the world in terms of how many people they kill. And the point of this game is to show you the lesson that Jesus is teaching these self-righteous dudes. You see, in the parable, Jesus shows two characters with two ways of approaching God. And what I've shown you are two examples in each scenario that you could do. You see, some of the pictures I showed you, they seemed okay, I guess, but they actually turned out to be deadly. Jesus told a parable to make them picture these two ways, it's like he put the Pharisee and the tax collector up on the slide. He knew those self-righteous people would have all picked the Pharisee. But his lesson is really clear, and it's a shocking one. Being confident that you're good enough for God is deadly. You'll be judged. The Pharisee thought he could approach God with all the good things under his belt. And God would smile at him and be amazed at his holiness. But according to Jesus, his record counted for nothing. Nothing at all. Since he wasn't justified before God. He was judged as an evil rebel for all the evil in his heart and his actions. The lesson's clear enough. All those who exalt themselves will be humbled. They won't be accepted by God. They will be humbled forever. So before we finish, there's a second lesson actually. And it's God's mercy as a gift. A gift, a free gift for humble sinners. Look at verse 14. Jesus said, all who humble themselves will be exalted. Think of that tax collector once more. He knew he had no excuses, none whatsoever. And he brought nothing good to try and please God or appease God. All he had was a knowledge of his wrongdoing and a simple plea for mercy. He humbly depended only on God's mercy to forgive him. Jesus said he was justified before God, accepted by God, despite all the evil he had done. Mercy means being let off the hook. It's when God doesn't punish those people that do deserve punishment. So just to finish off, do you see that we can't earn God's mercy? It's not given based on the things we do or the things we avoid doing. In the parable, mercy was given to the worst sinner, but the worst sinner who humbled himself and asked for mercy from God. You see, God's mercy is a gift for humble sinners. So there's been two lessons. Being confident that you're good enough for God is so deadly. And God's mercy is a gift for humble sinners. I hope this has helped you to understand this parable. This has been your boy Joe. Wow.